These 10 signs show you that you're on the right path to meeting your life partner or the man you're going to marry within the year. And as always, it's not what you think. And you're probably doing a lot better than you think. So if your dating life feels like it's stalling, going around in circles with short-term relationships, or you've completely lost the plot in what you're actually even aiming for, this video will set the tone of what your dating life is going to look like from now on. And if you're one of my girlies going through a breakup right now, this might be the thing you really need to hear to make you realize that you're actually not on the wrong tracks at all and everything is going to plan. Okay, so let's just jump in, shall we? Sign number 1. You have had a final straw dating experience. Girl, this tends to be a dating experience or relationship where you either repeat a huge mistake from the past or there is a clear repeated dynamic, right? And the key here is that you actually see what happened. You see your part in it and you're basically done with it. Ever heard the phrase, you have to pull the bow back before it shoots forwards? When you experience this breakup or repeated experience, you may be extra hard on yourself and ask yourself, why did I just continue on when I saw the sign so early on? I remember when this happened to me, I was so angry with myself. But usually when this happens, it's a powerful reminder of how you've changed. Because instead of being just a participant in the experience like you were in the past, you are now the observer. You experience this with feelings of, I will never tolerate this again. I will never put myself in this position again. And after that moment, your standards become pretty much non-negotiable, not just in theory, but in actual practice. And this often precedes meeting the right partner because your filtering system has a sudden upgrade. You now see things clearly in a way you couldn't in the past. And it's a clear sign that although you kept your heart open and repeated a mistake, you're not the same person as you were the first time. And you know that it's time to forgive yourself and move on. The next sign that you're on the right track to meeting the one within 12 months is not just a sign, but a skill. And it's the most unusual piece of advice, but it's a phenomenon that happened to me in my dating journey. And I've seen it with other women also. But it's not for the faint-hearted, so be warned. Okay, sign number 2. You don't take big breaks and timeouts between breakups to heal, especially if the relationship was short. So this one feels almost impossible, right? Healing between breakups is super important, and there is a way to do it effectively where you're genuinely processing all the emotions and not ignoring them. Because when you're genuinely 12 months away from meeting the one, you don't need long periods of time to recover because the vision of your future is more important to you than any one man. Ever heard the story of a woman meeting her husband almost immediately after a massive breakup? There's going to be this feeling in your body, and it's going to be a true embodiment of, I deserve love. I deserve a man who can love me fully. I deserve my future exactly the way I want it. It's going to be an embodiment of your self-worth. Not just saying the right words in your head or the affirmations in the mirror, but it's an actual belief in your body where you are like, I am not letting that have power over me when I know I am worthy of my future vision, okay? And that will enable you to feel sad and genuinely grieve the breakup, right? If it's a slightly longer relationship, there's going to be a grieving process, but even then, it doesn't need to take years and years, not even a year. And if it was a short connection, then it's usually a little bit of grief and a little bit of ego wounding and a little bit of fear and also like maybe a slight dent in your sense of self-worth, okay? But when you stay focused and you embody self-worth, that's what makes it surprisingly easy to move on. And you'll still feel all the mixture of grief and feelings coming up in your body because that's a given. We're human beings. We can't escape that. So when you learn how to grieve and you know how worthy you are, which you are if you don't feel it right now, let me tell you, you are so worthy of getting exactly what you want, okay? There is a strategy to this where you can start slowly, very slowly, peeking through new doors of opportunity without fully feeling obligated to open them just yet. And even though you might not feel ready to date again, it's important that you slowly, energetically, and practically set the wheels in motion before you get into that stage of wallowing, which is kind of where your body has already processed all of the emotions and all of the thoughts. But now, because there's nothing else to do, you just go into repeating that pattern again and again. Because the part of healing that no one even talks about is in moving on, is actually physically moving on, like getting off the sofa and moving on, because it's just so obvious, right? And even if it feels a bit weird or jarring or a bit fake at first, if you're someone who tends to get stuck in your thoughts or in your emotions, even after fully processing them quietly in your living room with your journal, right? So you're not actually avoiding the grieving work. You're not actually avoiding, going through all the processes and the emotions, but then you still find yourself, even after having done all of it, stuck, right? That's a sign that there is one last piece of healing, which is actually taking action, going on a date with someone new, just taking the action. And what you're doing is you're showing your body that it's safe. You're saying, you know what, I might not need to be fully ready, but I know that I'm worthy of love, and your body hears you. And that's something I wouldn't have even been able to do in the past, right? Because I would have felt guilty to do that, but because now I embody my self-worth, that's how I'm able to do it. I'm not perfect, but I still feel worthy. Do you feel that? Do you? Tell me that you're worthy in the comments. Tell me that you're worthy to get what you want, because so much of this ends up being a self-worth wound because of something we've done by error, or because someone rejected us, and your thoughts are processing it in the wrong way. When you're dating for life, partnership, or marriage, expect abandonment wounds to get triggered, expect relationships to end, because you're not messing around. And it's okay if you're not the one who pulled the trigger first, because it's not about your ego, babe. It's about what you want to get for yourself in your life, right? And that's kind of like that emotional maturity piece that's coming out. And it's not your fault if all of those wounds get triggered in dating. Dating should never have ever been designed to be this complicated, right? But at the same time, it is what it is, and we've, got to get on with it. So let that be your one action for today. Now, obviously, if you're going from man to man and date to date without processing, then girl, start really doing the healing work. And if that's something you're interested in learning, then just let me know in the comments below, because I read them all. If you're on the right tracks to finding your life partnership in a year, you're likely noticing that now when you date, connections fail around the 3-month mark, or even sooner. And that's because you're dating for life, partnership, or marriage. So it's not like in your 20s when you just continued on regardless of whether it's actually working or not, or whether you both want the same future, which is likely something you didn't even clarify when you were younger, right? In your 30s and beyond, relationships fail quicker because you're dating for lifetime compatibility. And if it's not there, it's not there. You understand this, and your focus is on the goal of finding that forever partnership rather than on any one specific man. Your focus is on your life. So when something breaks, it hurts a little bit, but you process it and you move on in the understanding of onwards and upwards. It doesn't mean you don't process the breakup, but you don't take yourself out of the dating game for months or years. You are focused on your future. And this is one sign of healthy self-worth in dating. And for years, this is something I didn't really have. So I totally get it if it just seems like a glorified fantasy right now, but it's not. And honestly, dating for life, partnership in modern dating does require going on several dates with different people, and sometimes trying on some short-term relationships for size to see if they suit you and really have the qualities that you need specifically for a lasting and healthy relationship. So getting over disappointments is a necessary skill for all of us in modern dating. The way this differs from other textbook dating advice is this: I encourage you to date in your trauma. Allow the imperfect versions of you to exist in connection. You can only truly do this when you have the emotional skill set to express yourself, including your fears and concerns, without sabotage. And I'll be giving you that whole skill set in video 5, so don't forget to watch that one too. And also, ladies, if you're finding this content useful, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It really helps me help more women, which is what I really want to do. But ultimately, when you've gone through a breakup, you're experiencing an ending and the start of a new beginning, because that's one of the energetic laws of the universe. When one thing ends, another thing starts. When one window closes, another one opens. So why wouldn't you want to date from this transformational power? Have you ever noticed how there's a shifting energy between summer and autumn and winter and spring? There's an energy of possibility in the air. Have you ever experienced post-breakup euphoria? That euphoria is super potent energy. Date from that place of giving 0 Fs and see what happens. Do it before you're ready. Do it like a step before you're ready. So do the processing and then feel the fear and go on that date anyway. Because at this time you're less likely to ignore things because the lesson of your past relationship ending is so fresh. So if anything, this is the time that is the safest for you to date because you've already got this resolution in your body. You're like, well, I'm not doing that again, right? Because you're not back in your rose-tinted glasses. If you heal too much, those rose-tinted, especially if you're an empath girl, those rose-tinted glasses are on and we're just seeing everything like a beautiful paradise situation even when it's not. So move on one step before you really feel ready. Okay, sign number 3. This one is the easiest one to slip off track. And so it's the one to pay the closest attention to when dating. You start to notice that you're less worried about being chosen and more concerned with whether you choose him back. When you're close to meeting the man you'll build your life with, you'll actually notice that you're being chosen a lot. Men are clearly expressing their interest in you, and you may also notice that they are less concerned with dating you and more concerned with labeling you as their girlfriend or as being in a relationship and talking about the future. And I know it might sound impossible with the dating experiences you're having at the moment, right? This is usually something women experience in their 20s, but that completely disappears in your 30s and beyond. So if you're noticing that this trend or pattern has reappeared in your dating dynamics in your 30s or older, I want you to pay close attention to it and not play your cards too soon. Because what you're experiencing is moving energetically from being chosen to being the chooser. And this can happen at any age in your life because it's not based on how youthful you are. It's based more on the energy that you not only exude, but that you genuinely feel and that you're living your life by. The energy of self-security and self-value. And this is why it's so important to not be the overgiver in dating. And my last playlist talked all about this, so go and check that one out if that's something that you resonate with. I'll link that video below. And if this content is helpful to you, don't forget to subscribe so that you're the first to get all of my videos that are quite literally based on my journey to finding not just any relationship, but soulmate relationship. And I always want my dating advice to be real and also based on the trends and patterns I see in the clients that I coach. Okay, this next sign that you're close to meeting the one has a little to do with dating strategy, but it's also just an outcome of exuding security in dating, which is that you have a wait list of men who want to date you. And this is the dating strategy I teach my clients, and it's going to feel really good to you. So a huge question I have always got from clients over the years is about dating multiple men, and it's about how to know when it's okay, because they're hearing other content out there about rotational dating and many other dating strategies out there that all revolve around keeping your options open. And I actually used to teach something else called equilibrium dating, right? Which had a similar principle, but I've moved away from that based on the preferences of the type of women I coach, who tend to be highly empathetic women who care about doing what's right in alignment with their value system. And so the waitlist strategy is the strategy I guide my clients through, and it's less of a strategy and more of a natural thing that happens once you get to this point where you're very likely to meet the one. Okay. So once you start attracting, screening, and selecting relationship-minded men who excite you, yes, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of this stuff comes from learning those skills first. But once you get there, you will find that even when you're currently seeing someone, other men might actually ask you out on a date, or somehow you will just attract in other men, but you don't feel emotionally free to date someone else. So hear that last part. It's about your feeling of emotional freedom. So if you, by your standards, don't feel emotionally free to date other men, you might tell a new man who has registered his interest with you that you're currently dating someone else, or you're not emotionally free to date, because you really don't have to tell anyone your life story, and there can be other reasons for it, right? And you want to make sure you're showing up as honest and kind with anyone you date or who shows interest in as a baseline. You're not using anyone in this journey, and you're not using them to keep your options open. Every time you spend your time intentionally with a man, you are genuinely seeing, could this be the one? Could this be the man I end up with, right? So in time, if you happen to become available, and if this man who's registered his interest is still interested at that time and also available, you can simply get in touch with him, and you can be super transparent about that part with the man who has shown interest, right? And then he gets to say yes or no. Okay, so question for you. Can you see the one powerful thing you do in that situation? Well, actually, you do two powerful things. Firstly, you show him that you're a woman of integrity, and you subconsciously tell him, I'm actually taking dating very seriously. I'm dating for a husband or a life partner. And if we do get to date each other, because my emotional availability opens up later down the line, I'm going to expect you to show up in that integrity also. So anyone who is just kind of like a bit of a F-boy, just looking for some fun, will lose interest immediately. They're not going to wait for you. And also, they're going to know that you're going to expect that type of integrity from them, and they don't want to give you that because they're dating for different purposes. So it already acts as a filter, right? And the second powerful thing it does is it becomes more of a waitlist situation rather than a starting from scratch situation. Have you ever heard that saying, or even had the experience that men are like buses, they all come at once? Maybe this is just like a Londoner reference, but it basically means when you're already happy and with someone, all the other men are like, no, I want to be with you now, right? Great, put them on the wait list, babe, because you're not emotionally available and dating multiple men is making you feel uncomfortable or drained. Then you get to show up with full honesty, integrity according to your values. Personally, I don't think dating multiple men at the same time is wrong, but I do understand that if you're a deep connector, it can start to feel fake. So here's my waitlist strategy. And it helps you with what I mentioned earlier about not taking huge breaks between breakups, right? And then having to sit. So the worst thing is when you've gone through a breakup, you're having to heal yourself, and then you have to get back out there and put yourself back on Tinder, and then you're like swiping through everything, and then you're like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, this is such a step backwards, right? It gets rid of all of that. You don't have to do any of that because you've now got your wait list, right? And the wait list gives you this feeling of abundance and desirability that just further amplifies the security you exude in dating. It's one of my energetic hacks I teach. So it's building a positive energetic loop. Can you see that? Which in turn just attracts even more men, by the way. And I already know you love that one because it's kind and you're a kind person and it has integrity, and that puts your best interests first. How delicious is that? Let me know what you think of the waitlist strategy in the comments. I'm genuinely interested to hear. And can you see yourself dating that way? Does that feel good to you? Any questions coming up? Let me know in the comments and I genuinely will answer them, babe, because I've got your back. Okay, this is the last one I'll give you today. There were 10, but I just think it's going to be too much. You're not afraid to walk away from any connection. No matter how invested you are, no matter how close you feel you might be to getting that ring, you are equally not afraid to break the connection if something starts to feel off or you realize that one of your core needs just isn't being met. Remember that you believe in yourself. You love yourself. Remember that? You choose yourself, don't you? You're not going to let any man stand in between the connection between you and yourself, because that's the most important relationship you're ever going to have in this lifetime, because every other connection comes from you. If you disconnect with yourself, all your other connections end up filtering in other emotions like resentment or fatigue, and then anger, right? So you no longer feel the need to make relationships work. They either do or they don't. And instead of molding yourself around his emotional skill set and compensating where he can't meet you, for example, avoiding conversations about the future because you can see it makes him uncomfortable, or just accepting that commitment is a scary thing for him to talk about. Nope. You love him and you accept him for who he is and what he can't do. Great. But that doesn't mean you have to stick around when a core need isn't being met and accept it for your life. Those are two different things. You can love someone and let them go, because ultimately you want to set yourself up for an easy life, right? And by the way, I'm saying core need. not something superficial. So first thing is to actually check what your core needs actually are. Do you know what they are? That's an important thing to know. Okay, I'm actually going to give you one quick one bonus one, because it's actually quite important. And I really want you to have this one, because for absolutely ages, I didn't have this one. Okay, sign number 6. Fear is not driving your dating decisions. Self-security is, because that's when you're able to hear your intuition and know the difference from your intuition's loving voice just dropping in to guide you and your fear voice just wanting you to avoid taking any risks whatsoever, right? You can literally, like mine have different accents, you can literally hear the difference between your intuition and your fear voice, okay? The fear voice is going to keep you single. Your intuition keeps you protected, right? If you want to learn how to hear your own intuition in the dating process, or learn how to implement the dating waitlist strategy, or there's something else you've realized from this video that you really need to learn in your dating journey to finding your man, you can drop me a comment below. I read them all with so much love because I have been where you are. Or you can actually click the link below to inquire about coaching with me. Alternatively, if you're watching this and thinking, this all sounds a little bit too good to be true, Lena. Maybe there is no great love for me. Creating a wait list of men at my age, yeah, forget about it. It's because on some level, you are blocked from your own power. Watch the next video to find out why that is and who's doing that to you. With so much love.